There's so many things that pull us back from God. There's life, right? There's church, there's work, there's our families, there's Netflix. So many things that just pull us away from God, and God's like, I am here. It reminds me of when I was a kid, I had an amazing Sunday school teacher, and she taught me this story about Peter when he was in the boat, right? Remember all the disciples are hanging out in the boat, it's late at night, and they see this ghost kind of walking towards them, and Peter's like, Lord, is that you? And Jesus was like, yeah, it's me. If you believe it, come on out. Peter was like, all right, let me just get up out of the boat and step over the edge. And the other disciples were probably like, go on, man. You know, they kind of pushed him over, and he put his foot over the boat, and he's kind of standing on the water. He stands up, and it's like this miracle happening right in the middle of the night. And he starts walking straight towards Jesus. And it was incredible. And he's laser focused on Jesus. And then something happens that distracts him just for a minute. Then what happens? He starts to sink. You all went to Sunday school. Yeah. He starts to sink. And as soon as he took his eyes off Jesus, he starts to sink. Kind of sounds like life today, doesn't it? Like that lesson just continues to roll through the ages. It's like, no, we cannot keep our eyes off Jesus. So this is a song kind of about all that back and forth. It's a song called Undertow, and it just talks about how we just get struggled. We're just so struggling with all of this back and forth with Jesus. And it's just amazing.
The water's dark, the water's deep, the water's crashing over me. My cries are washed up on the beach, and no one hears a sound. I take a breath, I breathe you in, I take a step, but can't begin, 'cause I'm still caught in this headwind. This ship has run aground. I'm getting caught in the undertow, getting pulled down by the waves. Take my hand now and pull me close. I'm going down today. I'm getting caught in the undertow. The darkness pulling at my feet. You are here right now, I know. You're not letting go. A flicker of light, a flicker of hope, a star that shines from a distant coast. Through the fog he looks like a ghost, but he calms the storms in me. I walk on water, I walk through fear. My faith is strong when it appears. There's no room for doubt in here. In the midst of these high seas, I'm getting caught in the undertow, getting pulled down by the waves. Take my hand now and pull me close. I'm going down today. I'm getting caught in the undertow. The darkness pulling at my feet. You are here right now, I know. You're not letting go. You're not letting go. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. I'm fighting through the fear and doubt. I lift my hands, I lift my heart. I'm drowning in your grace. Your love is washing over me. I'm finally home, I'm finally free. I'm reaching up, you're reaching down. I'm drowning in your grace. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. Fighting through the fear and doubt. I lift my hands, I lift my heart. I'm drowning in your grace. Your love is washing over me. I'm finally home, I'm
into it. This isn't cool. We don't agree with it. We don't support it. Anybody ever have one of these moments? Just a few of you? Well, hang in there. They're coming. Man. You see, my nephew, Ryan, had been struggling with a heroin addiction for about 8 years. And he'd gotten himself clean for about 90 days, came up to our house for Easter. We had an amazing night on Thursday, and Friday morning we woke up and he was gone. He had accidentally overdosed and died in my basement. And it's been hard for my family. Like, we just have these moments where we're just like, God, what is this about? He was a good kid, 27 years old, just an avid fisherman, had a huge heart, just a really, really good kid. Just had a disease that he couldn't beat. So I remember sitting with my sister on the deck behind my house 2 days after. And I was like, there's two things that could happen. One, we could get lost in the grief. Or two, we could somehow use this for God's glory. And we opted for the latter. We started this thing called the There Is Hope movement. And what we do is we act as a conduit to folks that need help from substance abuse addictions and folks that can help. And we've partnered up with Teen Challenge. Anybody familiar with Teen Challenge? Yeah, we're huge fans of Teen Challenge. The way they approach recovery is incredible because it starts with Jesus first. Amen. And then everything else just surrounds it. And we just love the work that they're doing. I was playing their banquet 2 weeks ago up in Brockton. And it was incredible to hear the stories of these guys. There was one guy who was in his 11th month at the program. And I said, man, what are you doing when you get out? He's like, I'm going to seminary. I'm going to become a pastor. And I was like, oh, man. It's awesome. So there is one redeemed life, right, that God has just said, I'm pulling you out of that undertow, and I am just bringing you back to life. It's incredible. So we have so many people that say, hey, how can we get involved? Like, what can we do? And there's 3 ways to get involved. One, you can buy a bracelet. My sister had the amazing idea of coming up with these little bracelets that say there is hope on them. I saw some of you guys walking in here with them tonight. There's one right there. I have so many stories about these bracelets. It's incredible to watch God move through these tiny little bracelets. I had one woman that came up to me about a year ago. She was at a show 3 months prior. And she was in recovery, so I gave her a bracelet. I said, put this on, never take it off. And she said, okay. And 3 months later, she came back to the show and she said, that bracelet saved my life one night. And I was like, how? How did that happen? She said, I was about to use one night and the bracelet was facing up. And I saw there is hope on my wrist and I put the needle down and I called my sponsor and I was able to get out of that situation. And I was like, man, that's just the power of God working through a tiny little aluminum bracelet. Imagine what he can do if we just give him a minute to just say, God, move in my life. Just move in my life. So we've got these bracelets on the table in the back, and they say there is hope on them, and a portion of the proceeds goes straight back to Teen Challenge and the work that they're doing because we believe so much in it. It's incredible. We've got t-shirts back there that say there is hope. We just believe in hope. We believe in the hope of Jesus. The second thing you can do is we've got this Give One, Get One program where you can buy a bracelet here tonight, and then on our side, we give a bracelet to a person in recovery. And the cool thing is, you can also write that person in recovery a note that says, I believe in you, I'm praying for you, God is with you. You can give them a Bible verse, and then we deliver the bracelet and the note to folks in recovery all over the country. And it's incredible to hear the stories that we get back after these bracelets are given out to these guys. Some of them go out throughout their day and they come back to their room at night and they see a bracelet and a note from a complete stranger. And they're like, what is this? And they read it and they're just, some guys said they were brought to tears. Because recovery is a very lonely process. And God is in those moments and he's working in their hearts. But to know that a complete stranger would take the time to write you a note is an incredible thing to do. So that's the Give One, Get One program. And then we have these custom bracelets where you can get There's Hope written on it, and then you can put a name on the side. And my sister hand stamps every single one of these bracelets. So when I say, hey, I need 500, she's like, but I said, no, it's working. Like, we're doing this amazing stuff going on up in New England. So those are the 3 ways you can get involved. We just love the hope of Jesus. We're just trying to push hope deeper and deeper into our communities, into our schools, into our churches, most importantly, into our families, into our kids. Our kids need the love and the hope of Jesus. Amen? Amen. Yeah. So I wrote this song called There Is Hope, and it's dedicated to my nephew Ryan, but it's dedicated to each and every one of us, because if we're honest with ourselves, if we run around this room, we're all struggling with some kind of addiction. It could be food, could be pride, could be social media. I don't know what your addiction is here tonight. But the point of nights like tonight is to just leave everything at the door and just say, God, tonight I surrender. Father, tonight we are here tonight to just be honest with ourselves, God. God, there's so much happening in this room already. And God, I just pray that you would move in people's hearts and in their minds, in their lives and in their souls, God. Because you heal. God, you heal. And God, I just pray tonight for all of us, because we are addicted to something that is pulling us away from you. So God, tonight we pray that there is hope because Jesus. This is a song called There Is Hope. It's dedicated to each and every one of us. 10 years later, I remember blue September skies. I remember how the city streets were so alive. 10 years later, there are questions that still haunt my mind, answers that are hard to find, places that remind me of you. This life, there are no guarantees. There's a hope, there's a faith, there's love for the whole human race. There's a hope we're seeing. It says hold on tight to all we believe. Hope never quits. Hope never dies. Hope is still alive. In our hearts there is a God who will go to any length, and a holy cloud of witnesses who pray to give us strength. The author and perfecter gives us faith to become, and on our knees we pray the words, let your will be done. There's love for the whole human race. There's a hope, there's a faith, there is love for the whole human race. There's a hope we see. Let's just hold on tight to all we believe. Hope never quits. Hope never dies. Hope is still alive. 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 There's a hope. Hope is still alive. Hope is still alive. Jesus, your hope is still alive. So we believe in hope.
I'm just going to ask in advance of that one. I was adopted when I was 2 weeks old, and I always tell people it was the hardest 2 weeks of my life with the paperwork and everything. But I got the best parents in the world, and so when they told me this tour was sponsored by Holt Adoptions, I said, man, I'll be there in a heartbeat because I believe in it. And so I'll tell you a little bit of my story. But when my wife and I had a son named Ryan, I'm going to come out here, can I? Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Candles. Nice. Let's don't start the place on fire. Okay. I can only go so far. So when Ryan was born, I thought, when you had a kid, they wanted to play with you. Like they wanted to play basketball or anything like that. But when they're newborns, they just look at you like, hey, why don't you feed me? And really awful playmates. And so I was like, man, I thought, God, if you love me, I thought before we had a kid, I thought, God, if you love me, you'll let me meet my birth mom and my birth dad, because that feels like, something you would do. And so I just kind of waited for that to happen. It just never happened. So our son was born. And I said, okay, well, maybe I just won't meet him. One night, my son's 3 months old, and I'm in his room, and I'm holding him, and I've got his milk in my hand, his preferred time of eating, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm holding him, and I'm walking around the room, and I tripped on something his grandma got him that he doesn't need, and the milk flew out of my hand and hit the window and makes this huge crash. You just not getting that? The milk hits the window, makes this huge crash on the window, and it's really, really loud, and he starts shaking. Like this. I'm like, oh no, because that's not a good sign. So I turned on the light to see what was going on, and the reason he was shaking, I found out, is because for the first time ever, he was laughing at me because I'm clumsy, and his eyes were big, and he had a huge smile on his face, and he was just chuckling at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, oh my gosh, those are my eyes. And that's my smile, and that's my laugh, and I got choked up, because I'd never seen it before. And my wife walks in, she's like, hey, why is he laughing, and why are you crying? And I said, my whole life I wanted to meet a blood relative, and I finally met one. I'm holding him right here. I know.
Woo!
So here's what I want to tell you. Maybe you have this idea of what your life's going to look like, and you're like, God, if you love me, my life will look like this, A to B. And sometimes God does the B line, but it looks more like a B line, like a bee actually taking the, trying to get there. But here's the thing, when God jumps in the back of your dream and opens up your dream with the key that only He has, then He's the author of your life, and you let Him have the full control of your life, you'll be amazed what he does. And instead of meeting my birth mom in this life, I get a little mini-me for the rest of my life. So I'm so excited about it, and I want to sing this song that I wrote to remind myself that God's bigger than we are, God's plans are better than ours, and that He is sovereign and we are not. And so when we just give in to Him, and that's when we truly live. And so this is a song I wrote to remind myself of that, and if you know it, you can sing it out. And we just all sing it together. Hey, isn't this a great church? And the people here are great, and the pastors are great. Can you just give them a big round of applause? Pastor, you way back there.
I am the maker of the heavens. I am the bright and morning star. I am the breath of all creation, who always was and is to come. I am the one who walked on water. I am the one who calmed the seas. I am the miracles and wonders. So come and see. Follow me, you will know. I am the fountain of living water, the risen Son of Man, the healer of the broken. When you cry, I am the Savior and Redeemer, who bore the sin of the man, the author and perfecter, beginning and the end.
tonight. We've just gotten to know each other, and I just love him. He's just unbelievable. I love what he's doing in this area. And so continue to support. And I said, sure. So I went over there, and I met the guys, and they said, here's your guy you're going to be a mentor to. And he said, oh, man, what's your name? I said, Mark. And he said his name was Trey. And I said, he goes, you're going to be my mentor to get a job? And I said, sure. And he goes, what do you do? And I go, well, I do music. And he goes, what's that mean? And I go, well, I go around and do shows. And he goes, oh, great. How are you supposed to help me get a job? You don't even have a real job. That hurt a little bit. But he didn't listen to any Christian music, and I told him when I did, he started listening to my records, and he really liked them. So he came to his first Christian show, and he sat on the front row last year. And so I said, hey, I'm going to do a new song, and I was watching him. He's like, oh, yeah, I don't know it. Yes, that's great. And I go, and I could see he liked it, so I go, good, because I wrote it about you. And he goes, oh, no. So I'm going to teach you the song, and it goes like this. So just repeat after me. I go, oh, oh, oh. And you sing. I mean, look, we're in a Pentecostal church. I get it. You're going to sing it before I do. I get it. Here we go. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. This is so funny because usually I just make fun of the crowd a little bit, and I'm just like, oh, we'll have to do it again, but y'all are ready to go. So,
don't know how I wound up here, don't know where it all went wrong. I bought into the lies and nearly lost it all. Yet in the midst of fear, is your voice I hear, telling me I'm worthy, saying that just for me, love will walk through any storm, will see you through it all. Oh, can it be there's no place love won't go? As hopeless as it seems, no, you're not out of reach. There's no place love won't go. No place love won't. Well, I know you're a lot like me, and I know that it's hard to see. There is a greater plan when you don't understand. You're not a victim of the pain you can't outrun. See, he took your burden, he came to set you free. Love will walk through any storm, will see you through it all. Oh, can it be there's no place love won't go? As hopeless as it seems, no, you're not out of reach. There's no place love won't go. No place love won't. 'Cause your God, he longs to meet you, no matter where you are. His arms are gonna reach you. You've never gone too far. 'Cause love will walk through any storm, will see you through it all. Oh, can it be there's no place love won't go? As hopeless as it seems, no, you're not out of reach. There's no place love won't go. No place love won't go. No place love won't go.
load y'all up on a bus and go on to the next show. If that's okay.
Let's go.
That is so good. Hey, can I introduce you to my family? Would that be okay?
Woo!
I didn't bring them. They're at home, but I got pictures. And so I'm just going to show you this picture of my kids because they're at home and I get to sleep for a full 8 hours tonight. Best of both worlds. So this is a picture of my son. This is when he was younger. When I looked at him, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a little mini me. I'm just going to tell you now, he was cute. Still is cute, but he was cute. And I'm just going to show you the picture of his cuteness right now. I know, we still haven't let him inside yet. He's out there. We're thinking one more winter, and then he'll toughen him up, and then we'll invite him back inside. And you look at this picture, and you're like, oh my gosh, he seems like a happy kid. I'm sure he's never been in trouble before or had a bad attitude, and that's not true. Sometimes he is this kid, and sometimes he's this kid. I told my wife, I was like, honey, you can't put a man in a a bumbo seat out there that matches the leaves in the garden. That's emasculating. But I'm just tell you who Lenny Solaro was to me. I followed Jesus closer because of the way he lived his life. And he showed Jesus to me, and people were just popcorning up, and it was very Pentecostal in the way that was going on, and beautiful. And we walked out of the service, and we were like, you know what? We're sad, and we're also high-fiving because we realized that we have a legacy to hand down. That he was following Christ so closely, we want to hand that legacy down to our kids. And so I was like, man, how do we do that? And I thought, well, I'll just write a song about it so I can listen to it, and then I can remind myself how I want to live. So this is a song we wrote to honor him. When I say we, I was just talking about me and myself. And my kids are in this video. I did this for Father's Day, and I put my kids in there because they were cheap actors. And so this is that song with the video we brought along.
Black cars in line, the family has arrived. The church fills up, they've come to say goodbye. If this was my last day, what would they have to say? Did I live a life of love? Did I give myself away? Will my kids think of you? When they speak my name, was I always full of hope, always reaching out? I want to cross the finish line. You know I made it count before you call me home. Before you call me home. I wanna be a man who builds his children up, with a wife who feels like she's been truly loved. And if I've let them down, Lord, let me start right now. I wanna live a life of love, wanna give myself away. I want my kids to think of you when they speak my name, always full of hope, always reaching out. I wanna cross the finish line. You know I made it count before you call me home. Before you call me home. And when I finally close my eyes, and wake up on the other side, with my life laid out in the sun, I wanna hear you say, well done, well done. I wanna live a life of love, wanna give myself away. Want my kids to think of you when they speak my name. Always full of hope, always reaching out. I wanna cross the finish line. You know I made it count before you call me home. Before you call me home. Before you call me home.
music director for 10 years. I never meant to be. But I used to write them worship songs all the time and songs to sing in front of the church, and then they'd stand up and they'd sing them. So I'm getting ready to teach you a song. I was talking to the pastor here earlier, and he said this place loves to worship. And so anybody feel like making a little noise for the Lord tonight? Would that be okay? I'm a little disappointed in that. Is anybody ready to make a little noise for the Lord? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sing this. I'm going to go. Open up the heavens, Lord, and show your glory. And you're all going to sing. God of glory, open up the heavens now. And then I'm going to sing something else. And you're going to sing. God of mercy, let your love come raining down. And I'm just going to tell you right now, they're going to put the words up on the screen.
Good for me to know.
Because I can see you. And I can see the look on your face that started out excited and slowly made its way down to, I don't think so. So I need everybody to stand up where you're at right now. Lift your right hand up in the air. You're about to take an oath. Really, what's going on here? I need you to say, Mark. That's Presbyterian. I'm looking for something loud. Come this way. Mark. We promise.
We promise.
Sing loud.
Sing loud.
Clap all the way through the song. And be the loudest audience you have ever had. All right, let me hear you, Rhode Island.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing Your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes.
Sing it out, Joe.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and You're slow to anger. Your name is great and Your heart is kind. For all Your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing Your great unending. 10,000 years and then forever, forevermore, yeah. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before,
here. Y'all were singing so loud, so good, I just went ahead and wrecked it right on my keys up here. I was like, that's okay, that thing will grow back. Hey, can I play another new song for you? Let me just say this. I wanted to write a country song, and I'd never written one before. And I was like, man, I was writing this country song. I thought to myself, this is absolutely the dumbest song I've ever written, ever. But then I kept going. I was like, well, it's getting better, you know? And by the end, I was like, man, it's not bad, I don't think. So this is a brand new song, but I'm just going to tell you now, don't think of it as a 10. Think of it about, like, hope for a 4. And, you know, if it comes in at a 6, you'll think it's the best song you ever heard. So here it is. It's honestly about a hammer. So here we go.
That hammer hanging on the wall.
I'm not lying. It is. The girl's looking at her husband. She's like, is he for real, hammer? I'm glad it's free.
That hammer hanging on the wall once belonged to my grandpa. And that old Remington 22 he gave to me when I learned to shoot. And this guitar that I'm strumming here, Daddy plays it every night for years. Let me make it clear, I used to think the good life was something you could buy, living for that next time. Yeah, but that comes at a price. Whatever it was never enough. I finally woke up and I took a good look around. See, the things that mean the most to me I've found have been handed down. Hold the door for the girl, say thank you and yes sir. You bow your head when returning grace, say what you mean and do what you say. You help your neighbor when the chips are down. Around here that's what it's all about. Let me tell you now, I used to think the good life was something you could buy, living for that next time. Yeah, but that comes at a price. Whatever it was never enough. I finally woke up and I took a good look around. See, the things that mean the most to me I've found have been handed down. All through these years, I guess I've learned a thing or two. Put a price on things that mean the most to you. Like a small town, a football game, a sunset and a front porch swing. I used to think the good life was something you could buy, living for that next high. But it just won't satisfy. Whatever it was never enough. I finally woke up and I took a good look around. See, the things that mean the most to me I've found. Yes, the things that I have built my world around have been handed down.
Is it 11? Yeah, see? You thought 4. And then you just, see? Hey, I'm just going to downplay all the songs coming up here. You just think that's the best country you've ever been to. So when I turned 20, I packed everything up in my Mazda RX-7 and moved to Nashville, you know, which is not a lot of stuff. And I moved into the house that I thought I was moving into, and there was a white picket fence, and it was a white house. And I drove in to town, and here I come to the candles again, careful. And I drove in, and I pulled into the driveway, and this more mature couple comes out, and they go, "Can we help you?" And you know, I'd just driven 9 hours to my new place, and I said, "Yeah, I think I live here." And they said, Well, we've lived here for 45 years and we've never seen you. So, I don't know. You may not live here. And so they said, but I think you're renting a room next door because there's one available. So go unload your stuff and then come back over here. And I came back over after, it took me 15 minutes to unload my Mazda RX-7. And I came back over and they had sweet tea and cookies and fried foods of all sorts of greasy things. And their names were Henry and Liz grew up with Minnie Pearl off of Hee Haw. Have you ever seen Hee Haw before? They were best friends growing up, so it was like moving in next door to Hee Haw. No. And every night, that first night that I was there eating their fried greasy foods, I was there for like 9 months next door, and they fed me. I gained 30 pounds in 9 months. But on that first night, Henry's like, hey, did I ever tell you about my first date with Liz? And I was like, no, because I don't even know you people. And he said, she used to live in this house, and when I came here for the first time, she was 18, and I asked her dad if I could walk her to the movies. And he said, son, you can walk her to the movies, and then you're going to walk her home, and you're never going to leave her side. You got to promise me. Aww. And so we did. And so Henry loved that story so much, he told it to me every night for 9 months, because he would forget that he told it to me the night before, and I was like, oh man, well, if I ever write him a song, it's got to be called Walking Her Home, because basically that's the only song that Henry remembers. So I moved to the other side of town, and I became a youth director, and so I called them about 5 years later, and I go, Henry, I think I've almost got your song done. And he goes, good, because time's ticking, we're in the nursing home. Oh. So he said, come on to the nursing home. So I did, and we had lunch together at the nursing home, some fried greasy thing. And then afterwards, I played him the song, and it was almost done, but not quite done. And I just said, I'm just going to play you what I have. I didn't have the last verse. So I play it, they love it, they give me a big hug, and Henry puts his arm out, Liz gets in there, and they shuffle down the hallway to the room, It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but I was laughing because they were so slow. I thought they're going to have to make a U-turn halfway down the hallway and come back by 5 to get back for dinner. But as I'm watching Henry walk her down the hallway, I'm laughing and I go, wait a minute, I shouldn't be laughing. I should be on my knees praying I'm that guy when I'm 95 years old. Yeah. And what I realized is in that moment I saw a great man and a great spiritual leader and a great father and a great husband. And I was like, that's it. And I go, Henry, you just wrote the rest of my song for me. As I'm watching it. So here's the greatest thing about Henry and Liz to me. One Christmas, the first Christmas I was there, I was 9 months and 6 months into being there, and Liz puts a telephone on the table after we had dinner. And she said, hey, you need to call your folks. And I said, well, what for? Did I do something wrong? And she said, no, you need to call your parents. So she put it was one of those old time phones, like, so I picked it up and I'm calling my parents and I go, what am I telling my parents again? Why are you making me call home? And she said, well, Henry and I have been talking. And we decided that if we had a son who was out trying to make it in the world, we'd want somebody to look at after him. Aww. So you just call your folks and tell them they've got nothing to worry about because you just got adopted by Henry. That's awesome. So if you know any of these songs off the radio, or you've heard these songs before anywhere, it's partly because I wrote them, but mostly because there was a couple who lived next door to me who believed in me more than I believed in myself. Amen. And so this is a song for two of my favorite people in Nashville. You know what? Let's just go ahead and get that off the screen. Okay. Hey, how about this? We'll just set a country. That feels like country to me. Okay, kind of Nashville. Right. Looking back, he sees it all. It was her first date the night it came to call, and a dancing sun, have her home on time, and promise me you'll never leave her side. Took her to a show in town, and he was 10 feet off the ground. He was walking her home and holding her hand. Oh, the way she smiled and stole the breath right out of him. And down that old road with the stars up above, he remembers where he was the night he fell in love. He was walking her home. 10 more years in a waiting room at
knees went weak when he saw his wife. She was smiling and she said, he's got your eyes. And as she slept, he held her tight. His mind went back to that first night. He was walking her home and holding her hair. Oh, the way she smiled, it stole the breath right out of him. Down that old road with the stars up above, he remembers where he was the night he fell in love. He was walking her home, and he walked her through the best days of her life. 60 years together, and he never left her side. A nursing home at 85, and the doctor said it could be her last night. And the nurse said, oh, should we tell him now, or should he wait until the morning to find out? But when they checked her room that night, he was laying by her side. He was walking her home and holding her hand. Oh, the way she smiled when he said, this is not the end. Just for a while, they were 18. She was still more beautiful to him than anything. He was walking her home. He was walking her home. Looking back, he sees it all. It was her first date the night he came to call.
Hey, you got it, man. You got it, bro. You got it,
So
bro.
much. I appreciate it.
Right in, man. Right
You know what? This is I'm just going to. This is going to be an extra because somebody said, "Will you please play a Christmas song?" And I was like, "Okay, that was you that wanted a Christmas song." Quick for you, okay? Nobody else listen.
Okay.
Starlight shine, the night is clear. Shepherds watch from here. I close my eyes, see the night when love was born. A perfect child gently waits, a mother bends to kiss God's face. I close my eyes, see the night when love was born. And angels fill the midnight sky, and they sing, hallelujah, he is Christ our King. your small door came the hope we'd waited for. The world was changed forevermore when love was born. I close my eyes and see the night when love was born.
Amen.
And I think we have the best country protected by the greatest
Amen.
people in the world.
Amen.
And I'm about to tell you why. So when I was adopted, my parents tell the story that they came to the hospital, and I'm laying in the hospital. I'm 2 weeks old, and my parents walk in, and I was hoping for like a really great story, like for them to come and have this humongous story about when they got me, you know. And apparently, what happened was they walked into the room, and they're deciding if they're going to get me for adoption. So they walk in the room and they look at me, and my mom walks up. My dad's standing right next to her. And my mom looks at me and goes, "Well, what do you think?" And my dad goes, "I'm in." Like they're trying to order some at McDonald's, you know? They're trying to make up their mind. Which I bought a quarter pounder last night in New Jersey, and that thing cost me almost $8. In Nashville, that's $4.35. I don't know how y'all do it up here, but maybe that's what they call dieting up here. I'm not sure. So when I moved to Nashville, I pull into Henry and Liz's house, and they come out. And here's what Henry and Liz didn't do. Henry and Liz didn't say, "Hey, are you going to be a singer? Are you going to have gold record? Are you going to have the #1 hits and have a tour around the world? Because if you are, man, let us know, because we'd love to tell our neighbors that you're our neighbor, and that would be so fun for us to do, just to know you and all that kind of stuff." They didn't do that. They said, "Hey, you look like you're going to, shrivel up if you don't eat some greasy foods. So come over to our house and we'll feed you." And when you're 85 years old and you step into somebody's story like that, when they need it, that's your way of saying, "I'm in." So I asked my wife, I was like, "How do people know how to do that?" Because it seems like it's a lot easier just to fold your arms up like this, and keep your head down and not enter anybody else's story. Because if you don't enter anybody else's story, you don't put yourself out there, and you don't have to risk yourself. But the cost to that is not letting God flow through you and enter into their life through you, and His grace pour out through you and change somebody's life, which was God's plan all along. So I told my wife, I was like, "How do people know how to do this?" And she said, "I think they know how to do this because they loved a God who did this to them first." Amen. I was like, "Man, okay. Well, maybe we should do it." My wife was like, "Okay, we're going full on." So she did it and threw her arms back, and she said, "This is the way we're going to live." And I said, "Okay." Arms back, and I kind of dug my heels in just a little bit to get myself so I wouldn't have to go too far, And I said, "What are we going to do?" And she said, "Well, let's just see what happens." And she started typing on the computer, and I was like, "I don't know what that is." But anyway, Holy Spirit fingers going on there. And 2 years later, she gets us some plane tickets. And she said, "You want to do it for real? We living like this?" I said, "Okay, tell me where we're going." And she said, "We're going to China to pick up our daughter." So this is Maya May Schultz, and we got her over there. Here she is the day she was almost an American citizen over in, how great is that? And here she is with her brothers when we brought her home. Man, let me tell you something. Adoption, look, she's got me wrapped around her finger, and wherever she goes, I'm going. The other two things happen. I don't know, but with her, she's got me. So let me just. Here's the thing. When we were bringing her home, we had her dressed up like this, and we're in the plane, and everybody in China knows that we're on the plane coming home because she doesn't look anything like me. And so she's all wrapped up, and everybody on the plane held her. Everybody held her all around us. And the Chinese people were saying, like, "You Americans don't know how to wrap a baby up like a taco." And, So everybody held her, and the stewardesses came out and held her, you know? And they were just taking pictures with her and stuff. The captain came out and took a picture. I don't know who was flying the plane, but everybody took a turn, you know? It was really great. So here's what I know. My wife says, you know what the good news is? She got a little American outfit on. All we have to do is walk off the plane and walk across the line into the airport, you know? And as soon as we hit the American soil, she's an American citizen. So I'm like, okay, and I got her like a football, you know? And I'm just running through people, and they're cheering me on, you know? Go, 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 go. I'm so excited. Everybody in our plane knows what's going on. And we're running out, and all I have to do is just get over the American citizen. And I get up there, and I'm about this far away, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm kind of tearing up like, oh, this is going to be a big moment. And I'm about to take a step, and there's two Delta ladies standing right here, right in front of me. So we're getting there, and I'm smiling at them like, okay, ladies, move it away. And I'm coming up there, and they say, stop. And I was like, what? I've just run from the goal line on the other side of China, and all I have to do is stick my toe over, and she's an American citizen, so we're good. She said, no, you need to give her to me. And I turned to my wife, and I was like, is there paperwork we're supposed to fill out? Because this is your job, not mine, to know the details. And she's like, I have no idea. And so these ladies are just standing there, and they said, we need the baby. And so I look at my wife, and I look at my maid, and I hand her off. And she takes her, and both of them look at her, and they're kind of checking her out. And then one of them lifts her up, looks at her, brings her back down, kisses her on the head, and says, baby girl, welcome home.
That's awesome.
I was proud of the country I came from before I left, but I was super proud when I came back. Because she, on her left hand, she doesn't have fingers on her left hand. And so the reason we were able to get her is because they said, hey, you're not perfect. So we're going to send you off over in an orphanage. And as soon as you age out of the orphanage, you're going to go to the streets. Because if you're not perfect, you don't fit into this society. But what was amazing was, as soon as I'm about to bring her to the United States, here's my little Delta lady with her cross around her neck, who wants to be the first one to take her and say, hey, I just want you to know, before anything else, before you step across the line and become an American citizen, that there's somebody you don't know that's saying, I'm in. I'm going to call it out before you step across this line. You are loved, you are cherished, you're a child of God, and you're home.
Amen.
Here's what I love about adoption. God didn't do it on accident. He wasn't just like, when he said, hey, I'm going to adopt you into the body of Christ, it wasn't like a second idea or anything like that. That was just his plan. And so something happens when you just open him up and just say, I'm in. And if you do that and God drops whatever he drops into you and it goes right out and it changes lives. It changes lives. So much so that I thought this was such a great experience. And my wife said, it is. Let's just keep doing this. I said, okay. So last year I was doing a concert. And I was adopted from Kansas City, the Kansas Children's Service League in Topeka, Kansas, which nobody's ever heard of. But anyway, that's where I came from. And my wife called me, and she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing a concert. And she goes, can you go to get a flight to Kansas City? And I said, what for? And she said, you got to meet your daughter. And I was like, we already got one. And she said, I got us another one. And I said, what's the story? And she goes, here's the story. She's from Kansas, born in Topeka, Kansas, through the Kansas Children's Service League. And her name's Abby Lou. So every time I leave for a long extended period of time, we get another child. I'll be jetting home as soon as this concert's over. So I'm grateful for this country. I'm grateful for the freedoms that we have. I'm grateful that we can come into this place tonight and lift up God's name and praise Jesus without having to go to jail.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, sir.
Because of the folks who have given us those freedoms and have gone before us and have given us those freedoms. So I'm going to play this song to honor anybody who served in the military, or if you're a family of somebody that served in the military. Again, we live in the greatest country in the world, protected by the greatest people in the world, and we never should forget that and take these freedoms that we have for granted. And so this is a song for those folks who keep us safe.
While to the mailbox on that bright summer's day, found a letter from her son in a war far away. He spoke of the weather and good friends that he'd made. Said, I've been thinking about that and the life that he had. That's why I'm here today. And then at the end said, you are what I'm fighting for. It was the first of his letters from war. She started writing, you're good and you're brave. What a father that you'll be someday. Make it whole, make it safe. She wrote every night as she prayed. Late in December, a day she'll not forget. Oh, tears stained the paper with each word that she read. Said I was up on a hill, I was out there alone, where the shots all rang out and bombs were exploding. And that's when I saw him. He came back for me. Though he was captured, a man set me free. And that man was your son. He asked me to write to you. I told him I would, oh, I swore. It was the last of the letters from war. And she prayed he was living, kept on believing. He wrote every night just to say, you are good and you're brave. What a father that you'll be someday. Make it whole, make it safe. She wrote every night as she prayed. And then 2 years later, autumn leaves all around. A car pulled in the driveway and she fell to the ground. Down stepped the captain where her boy used to stand. He said, Mom, I'm following orders from all of your letters, and I've come home again. He ran into hold her and dropped all his bags on the floor, holding all of her letters from war.
ever served in the military in any capacity, past, present, here, overseas? Will you stand up for a second? Yes. The reason we're able to be here tonight is because these folks have risked their lives, their friends have given their lives, their freedoms to be out here. Songs, would that be okay? I told my wife, I said, you know what? You've done a really good job of doing this. And you've pulled me right along with you to do this. But I want to be a godly man. And I want to make a difference. And I don't want you to pull me. I want to be out there in the front doing this for both of us. Mm-hmm. And I want to be the Henry of the Henry and Liz. And I want to be a good man. I want to be a godly man that my kids say, man, you know what about Dad? Whew. When we think about Dad, we think about God. Because Dad loved God. Yeah. And so I got on a plane and I went to a place because I got an email that said, hey, do you know they sing your songs over on the other side of other side of the world? And I was like, what? And they said, yeah, you got to come see this. So I was like, okay. So I bought a ticket. And I went over there, and I'm going to sing this song. And if you know it, you can sing it out with me, too. It's a song called Remember Me that I wrote. But I found out that, man, they sing it in other parts of the world, too. So, and I didn't even know it. So this is that song. If you know it, sing it out with me. And there's a little surprise at the end, which I think is so great. So here we go.
Remember me in a Bible cracked and faded by the years. Remember me in the sanctuary filled with silent prayer. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace. Child of wonder, child of God, I remember you. Remember me. Remember me when the color of a sunset fills the sky. Remember me when you pray and tears of joy fall from your eyes. And age to age and heart to heart, bound by grace and peace. Child of wonder,
to Rhode Island. We all say hello. And when I was over there, I learned that they said that Zambia was the warm heart of Africa. Would you say that that's right?
Amen. Yeah.
No, Zambia is the real Africa.
Oh, it's the real Africa. Okay, sorry about that. Well, I met these kids, and they were orphans, and I get to see where they got to go to school, and I get to see where they got to do some medical stuff, and I get to see their life a little bit. It was one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. So can I talk for a little bit, and then we'll just come right back to y'all? Would that be okay?
Okay, we will wait.
Okay, thank you. So I got to go to their school, and this is their teacher, and she was sponsored by a man here in the United States. And because without that, she wouldn't have been able to go to school. But instead of going on and furthering her education and going on to get a job, she came back into her village and became the teacher of this school so that she could get this school and this village out of educational poverty. And here are two of her boys that are sponsored by the same guy. So he's sponsored for over 30 years. And it was unbelievable to see just her passion for loving God and wanting to take these people out of a bad situation into out of educational poverty. And then my wife's an OBGYN, so she said, would you please look and see what they're doing over there for medicine? And so I was looking, I watched, and I was like, yeah, and I called her back, and I said, they're putting kids in blue jock straps and hanging them from a hook. And she said, you were an idiot. They're weighing them. That's what they're doing. I was like, okay. But without a sponsorship, these kids would not be able to get this medication. And what they were doing in this village is wait until the kids were almost dead, and then they would bring them in, and they would try to give them the medication right at the last of the 11th hour to keep them alive. But through sponsorships, all of these kids, this little person didn't like that, but it's going to save her life. And they get all these inoculations, so they're taken care of. And one of the highlights for me was getting to go see my sponsor child, Tendai Gomo, and this is where she lives, and this is the first time I'd ever met her. I saw her picture on a piece of paper, and we wrote back and forth, but I actually got to go to her house and see what they got. I showed her the pictures of my kids. I'd never seen anything like that before, and they showed me some things I'd never seen before.
We're now in a cart being pulled by ox, which is the first time for me, actually. Might even be the last, depending on how this thing goes.
It didn't go very well. But I got to hang out with Tendai the whole day and get to see what just she did before she went to school and how much different life was. So they took me the 1.5 miles that they walked for this hole that they drilled in the ground for a well. And I was like, man, I'm so sorry y'all have to walk 1.5 miles. And they said, are you kidding me? We've never had water here before. So this is like we share it with all the neighbors. And this is their daily thing. Tendai goes before school and gets all the water she needs for the day with her mom. And I was like, how do you do that? So I gave it a shot to see what it's like.
Now, you know what's interesting is how heavy that's going to be on the way back. You got to be kidding me. Really?
Wow.
I didn't see that coming. Can I try to carry my head? Maybe. Oh my gosh. Luckily, I've got the head that's perfect for this. If you'll notice, Tendai looks pretty natural. Oh no. Oh, see? Walk of shame. Walk of shame. Okay, back to the professional. This one has a little indention in the bottom of it that is going to make a hole in my head. Okay, back to you.
So they showed me where they had a garden through sponsorships. They could get some seeds and they get the tools to make their own food so that they could, or grow their own food so they could be sustained and then sell it in the market. I realized we're not the only things in this garden, I found out.
We were just talking in the van as we were driving up. I had my window down and the driver said, hey, you might want to roll your window up. I said, oh, we're good. He said, no, you need to roll it up. Sometimes snakes flip in from the trees into the... I rolled my window up.
Yeah.
So that was the day that I spent with Tendai and just got to know her world and to bond with her and just to get to experience what life was like and how my sponsorship was changing her life. And while I was there, I was like, man, there's got to be more that I could do. So on the day before we left, I just had this idea.
So in 2007, I was approached by an organization that wanted to spotlight orphan care. We were going to try something nobody had done before, and that was to ride my bicycle from California to Maine and raise money all the way across by doing concerts. And so when we came on this trip and they said, hey, this is what the sponsorship is all about, I said, I want to sponsor a child. So we did before we came. And not only did that have a big impact, I heard that voice in the back of my head that says, you can either sponsor a child and make the difference in one child's life, or you can make a real impact. And I took the village. And so there's 1,000 kids in my village that need sponsored. That's going to be special. On the day we come back, and there's 1,000 sponsored kids in that village, and to get to see the transition to where they were in a situation of poverty, and now they're better educated, they've got health care, and we can transform that whole village, and I can't wait to come back and see that.
All right, are y'all still here with us?
Yes, we are still here.
Okay. Hey, can you all hand up just show your packets so everybody can see that your faces are on the other side of those packets? They'll hold those things up in the air, if you don't mind. There you go. Little guy in the middle, yours is backwards. We can't see anything. There you go. Good stuff. Well, hey, thank you so much. I'm going to talk for just a second, but thank you so much for being with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Remember me. Remember me. Remember me. Remember me. Remember me. Remember me. Remember me.
Please remember me.
So because I've been the beneficiary of my mom and dad, and Henry and Liz, and my wife, what I didn't realize was what happens when you lift your arms. I know what it's like for my mom and dad to do that, and Henry and Liz, because I know the way that changed my life, but what I didn't realize is how good it feels to do this when you can actually see it work in somebody else's life and it changes somebody else's life. And it's great. So I want to be your bridge for my people that I went to see. And the good news is that village is sponsored. So everybody in that village of that school, 1,000 of them are going back this summer. And I told my wife, I was like, honey, we did it. And she said, we're not done. And I was like, okay. So because I wanted to be a good man and a godly man, we went out and got more kids. And so here's the thing. Who you got? I need them right now. So we went to Japan, and I took my son over there to Japan, and we met a bunch of kids. And this is day one. And for $34 a month, you can sponsor one of these kids in a way to say,
Amen.
And so there's a little packet on the inside of here. It's just a little envelope, and you just sign your name, and you can pay with a little credit card, or you can pay a check or cash. Kids, they take your parents' credit card. That's fine. No problem on that. And here's the thing. I just want you to see these kids, because I truly believe when God says he wants you to get involved with orphans, he doesn't say it because he thinks it's a good idea, and if you're bored on Saturday and you just want to go to the internet and look at some orphans, that'd be fun. I think he says it because he's got something in it for you. And it's something bigger than you can do on your own when you open up your arms, because he meets you in that, and then it's his grace that he's pouring out into that. And so I just want you to see these kids, because you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. So, okay. So we're going to hand these out. Hey, Dave, will you help me hand these out as well? Christian concerts, as you can come together, it's more about than the music, you know? And you can build community, and you can do things that they just don't normally think about at another concert. And you can come together and you can change somebody else's life, and I love that. So here's my hope. And the pastor was asking me, like, hey, what do you want people to feel when you leave this place, when they leave this place? Here's my thing. I hope tonight, as you leave those doors, that this is your thought. That God has specially equipped you with only the way he can, in your own special way. That he's given you the gifts that only you have. That he loves you in a way that he just wants you to use those gifts in the best way that you can. So as you leave this door, my hope is that you don't leave the door like this. And maybe you've had the kind of day that makes you want to fold your arms and just say, well, I just need some me time right now, and I just need to duck my head and not get involved. My hope is that you will do what Jesus Christ did to you when he came here 2,000 years ago and lifted out his arms and said, I'm in. And that's what God calls you in, but he doesn't just call you to do it. He enters into you with that. So he walks along with you. So my hope is that you'll walk out these doors tonight and somebody will say, man, I don't know what it is about that person right there, but there's something different about them. There's something good going on there. And then that will make my time up here worth coming. So thank you so much. And I'm going to do one more song for you. This is a praise and worship song. I loved when y'all stood up and sang last time. It was so loud in here. I was like, oh, I'd like to call my wife right now and just let her listen to what they're doing. So I'm going to do this last song. You can stand up, you can sing, you can clap on 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. It doesn't matter to me. You just do your own thing. And we'll let this one send us on out of here. But I am grateful to get to be here tonight, Pastor. Thank you so much for having us. And again, I know I just got here not long ago, but I hope you'll have us back again sometime. And we're grateful.